everyone, it's Julianne here for Scrappy Tail Crafts, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have this birthday rainbow card using pattern paper as well as the Popping Poppies stamp and die set to share with you all. I'm going to be starting off my card today using that Popping Poppies stamp set, and I'm going to be stamping two of those individual flowers that are included in this set onto a piece of expressive blending cardstock using some VersaMark Onyx Black ink. Now, I don't plan on doing any coloring today on my card, which makes this a super simple card for me and for you all if you choose to recreate it. Now, for my card, I wanted to have a total of 3 flowers, so I'm going to be stamping the first 2 flowers down onto my cardstock, and then I'll just be moving one of those stamps on my MISTI door, and I'll be stamping that flower one additional time. Now, before I did any stamping, I did add some anti-static powder onto my cardstock, so that way I could heat emboss each one of those images using some clear embossing powder. So once I get all of those stamped out, I'll just be adding that clear embossing powder over each one of my images, and I'll just be tapping off any excess powder. And while I'm doing that, I have my heat tool off to the side heating up, so that way when I bring it to my cardstock, it's going to be hot and ready to go. Since I am clear embossing those images with that black ink, you're going to see the change in that embossing powder go from that dull look to really nice and shiny, which lets you know that it's fully embossed. So once I give those images a second to cool down, I'm then going to be going in with the coordinating dies in order to cut out each one of those flowers. Now, in order to hold the dies in place as I run them through my die cutting machine, I'll just be adding some washi tape over those dies to just temporarily adhere them down. Now, since I was already die cutting the flowers, off camera I used the decal edge die in order to die cut out some vellum. Now, I really wanted my vellum to have a torn edge, but it just wasn't working for me. But I do have to say I love the edge that I got from this die cut. Now, for my sentiment, I've pulled back out my MISTI, and I'm going to be stamping a sentiment that reads, "It's your birthday," onto that piece of vellum using some more of that VersaMark Onyx Black ink. And again, I did add some of that anti-static powder onto the vellum so that way I could heat emboss my sentiment, again using that clear embossing powder. Now, since I'm embossing that sentiment on vellum, it doesn't take long at all for the sentiment to emboss. So you really want to make sure that you are constantly moving your heat tool about so that way you're not leaving it in one area too long on the vellum because it is much thinner than regular cardstock. Now, using my paper trimmer, I trimmed down a piece of rainbow pattern paper that I got from the Over the Rainbow pattern paper pack from Honeybee Stamps. Now, I trimmed down that panel to A2 size, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I've positioned my piece of vellum from earlier where I want it to be on my card, and now I'm going to be adhering it down into place by adhering each one of the sides of that vellum to the back of my pattern paper panel. So I'm just going to be folding over each one of those sides onto the back side of my panel, and then I'm going to be adhering them down using some liquid adhesive. Once I get both of those sides all adhered, I'm then going to be adhering my entire panel down to my card base using some additional adhesive. Now, once I have that all adhered, I'm just going to play around with the placement of each one of those flowers, and once I'm happy with where I want them to go, I've added some foam adhesive to the back of each one of those, and once I've removed the backer of that foam, I'm then going to be adhering each one of those down to my panel. Now, the first flower I'm going to be adhering on top of the vellum, kind of in the center of my panel, just above my sentiment. Next, I'm going to be adhering the flower on the top of my panel, kind of tilting it on its side to the right. And then finally, I'll be adhering that last flower down at the bottom of my panel, tilting it on its side to the left. Now finally, to finish off my card for today, I'm going to be scattering a bunch of silver confetti mix sequins throughout my background, and I'm going to be adhering each one of those down using some additional liquid adhesive as well as my Maker Fort craft pick and gem picker. Now once I have each one of those adhered, that's going to finish off this super easy rainbow birthday card. I hope that my card has inspired you all to try something different, like I have today where I did absolutely no coloring. Now, if you liked this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up down below, as well as subscribe to my channel for even more card making ideas. If you're interested in any of the supplies I used today, I will have all of those listed and linked down below in the description box. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time, and happy crafting!